today and Derrick Henry in Tennessee, and he's doing it with a team that's not playing that well. He's not getting a lot of late yards.
Right, you don't have game script in your favor, and by that, I mean you're not in the lead in the second half, just grinding clock, handing it off to your running back. But he never comes off the field. He's been so durable. He's the best offensive weapon the Jaguars have had. Why would you take him off the field if he can handle that workload? In the common draft era, JP, Dominic Rhodes has the record for an undrafted rookie with 1,104 yards, and James Robinson's on pace for 1,295 on the ground alone. Never mind the receiving yardage as well. So he is having a historical rookie season from the perspective of an undrafted player.
Let's move to defense now, and defensive coordinator Todd Wash missed last week's game due to COVID-19 protocols, and he said last week was a bit different when he was away.
The days were the same because we're doing virtual meetings. I just did it from a hotel room for 10 days. We do the installs and we communicate the game plan and stuff just like we do if we're sitting in our office. So I think that went really smooth for our whole coaching staff. And obviously the coaches were able to come in on Saturday and go through the walkthrough with the players. I thought they did a tremendous job. I think our players did a tremendous job.
Yeah, a lot of change on the practice field last week, though. Wash and Jason Rebrovich were not allowed on the practice field. They, as you heard there, only do the virtual meetings. And then weren't available for the game. They're both back this week, though. And you even had last week Avery Jones at one point was coaching defensive line drills during practice, and Jared Wilson was working with the secondary because they had to move some guys around there as well.
That's a unique season. It's all hands on deck. You're doing what you have to do. The Jaguars really, that's an inconvenience, but you compare that to, say, what Baltimore and Pittsburgh went through last week, having their game changed around multiple times, and all those guys that were unavailable to play on both sides, really. It's not something anyone's going to give you any credit for if you complain about it. So just go on, do your job, and get back as soon as possible.
Challenge this week, though, against this Minnesota offense. Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the league. Kirk Cousins has gone over 100 rating in the last 5 games out there. Jefferson's a Rookie of the Year candidate. Thielen's coming off the COVID list. They're locked and loaded. And Jared Wilson, the Jag safety, knows the challenge of the Vikings receivers.
Really good receivers. Their top 2 targets. I know 19 will be coming off COVID list, and he's a really excellent receiver. Can take the top off, can run every single route, short, intermediate. It's really just on us in the back end with the passing yards or whatnot to stop him from getting explosive plays and getting the ball thrown over our head. But he definitely does get an offensive boost for him being back this week.
Quite a challenge this week for this Jaguars defense.
Oh, no question. I mean, having Adam Thielen back changes things dramatically, but Justin Jefferson in his absence stepped up and played like a number 1 last week. He's averaging 17.7 yards a catch, 82 yards away from 1,000. He had 2 touchdowns last week, and he is, transitioning quite well in his rookie season himself from LSU. And, so the two of them together make a formidable pair. Even without Irv Smith available for the Vikings today, Kyle Rudolph can get the job done at tight end. Dalvin Cook leads the league in rushing. So what do you want?
You got it all.
Pick your poison. And Kirk Cousins has been playing really well over the last month and a half. So the offense is starting to click right now.
There you have it. Oh, and by the way, Sidney Jones not available today for the Jaguars
again,
at corner,
right.
So he's
That
out.
doesn't help.
Doesn't help at all. So the Jags are walking wounded on the defensive side. More top stories coming up a little bit later. The Jaguars Game Day radio broadcast is presented by VyStar Credit Union. If you believe free checking is better, join VyStar. That's checking with no fees and no minimums. No kidding. At VyStar, they never forget that it's your money. Time now for our weekly visit with the head team physician for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Dr. Kevin KAPLAN of Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute.
Dr. Kevin KAPLAN with us. The Jaguars facing the Minnesota Vikings this week. And we're discussing knee injuries, and we all hear about ACL tears and the other ligaments in the knee. But another thing we a lot of times hear about is the meniscus in the knee. Now, are there multiple menisci in the knee, or is it one per knee? And what the heck is that? And when you hear about a tear, how long is the process to get back?
It's a great question. So the meniscus is obviously a type of cartilage. It's actually the cartilage cushion between the bones, and it's something that I liken to a shock absorber in your knee, and it protects the joint surfaces and allows us to do all the normal activities we do, whether it's running, jumping, twisting, lifting weights. And we have 2 meniscus in each knee. So there's a medial meniscus and there's a lateral meniscus. and they both act as shock absorbers. And you can tear the meniscus in a variety of different ways. And obviously, we're talking about football, and this is probably one of the most common injuries that we see in guys in all different positions.
How do you repair it? Like a torn meniscus, is it something you can surgically repair quickly? And how far away is a guy when that issue pops up?
So the tricky part about the meniscus is the blood supply. The type of cartilage that it is, it really doesn't have a great blood supply, only in certain areas. So if you take the meniscus, it's actually shaped like a C, and only the outer third of the meniscus has a good blood supply. The inner 2/3 really doesn't have as robust of a blood supply. So in theory, you can stitch or put stitches and repair any meniscus. The question is whether or not it will heal. So those meniscus tears that are what we refer to as the white zone tears, which is an area where there's not good blood flow, typically those are ones that we actually just trim that part of the meniscus. And that's relatively straightforward and something that a player can easily return from, because you're just kind of trimming a piece that's torn, and the recovery is about 4 to 6 weeks. If you have a tear in the red-white zone or the red-red zone, red meaning a good blood supply, and we put stitches in it, you actually have to protect the weight bearing. So we don't let them put all their weight on it for a period of time. And that healing process takes a lot longer. So some guys you may see have a meniscus repair, and it may take them months to get back, 3 or 4 months. Some may just have a meniscus trim, and those guys can get back in 4 to 6 weeks. And you think it's the same injury, but in reality, it's the way we treat those types of injuries and a type of tear that dictates the recovery process.
All right. So is it better to have a meniscus you have to trim, or you have to go repair? What's the better option?
Well, we always, as surgeons, we always try to save cartilage. The cartilage obviously protects your knee, and we always worry about the short-term health and the long-term health of the players. So if we can save cartilage, it's better for their career. Sometimes you just can't, and obviously when you trim it, they can get on the field quicker. So it's a fine line that we walk, but we always try to do what's best for their long-term health and their long-term career. While it's if we were on a Super Bowl run and we were trimming a meniscus to get back on the field quicker, you always want them to have a healthy knee for as long as possible.
Dr. Kevin KAPLAN of Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. His comments, a weekly feature of the Publix Tailgate Show. Farah and Farah reminds you to continue to wear a mask. Help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Farah and Farah, protecting you and your family since 1979. We're just getting started, Mike, on the Publix Tailgate Show. We'll return with Jaguars safeties coach Joe DANNA. He'll take us inside last week's changes on the coaching staff and much more, including calling defensive plays last week. Jags Vikings at 1 o'clock in Minneapolis. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Committed to the team, committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Jaguars fans, let's tackle social injustice together on game days with Selfies for Change. Visit TIAABank.com/selfies for change to take a virtual selfie with a Jaguars player and unlock a $5 donation to the Jaguars Foundation to help fight social injustice. Share your photo on Instagram or Twitter using hashtag Selfies for Change so more fans can be part of the movement. Join us on game days at TIAABank.com/selfies for change. TIAA Bank is the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hi, I'm Tito Beveridge, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Everyone's so busy keeping up. forget about the Joneses. We all on our telephones with the texts and the tweets and the beats. What he said, she said, can't even follow the thread. Down the hole, we all go. Me, I like keeping up too, with my Corona and my attitude. That's La Vida Más Fina.
Relax responsibly. Corona Extra Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
In Florida, bicyclists have the same rights and responsibilities as everyone else on the road. So when you ride, follow the rules. Always wear a helmet and use lights on your bike. And drivers, watch for cyclists. Give them space to ride. And don't forget, when making that right on red, look to your right first to see if a cyclist is approaching in the bike lane. We all have a responsibility to keep ourselves and each other safe. Alert today, alive tomorrow. Because safety doesn't happen by accident. This message brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Some things make a house your home. Like endless hot water that makes the tranquility from an everyday shower your thing. When heating water with natural gas, you have hot water when you need it, save money, and earn a rebate up to $675. Your home. Our safe, reliable, efficient energy. Love natural gas. Find rebate details at peoplesgas.com.
Jaguars Game Day presented by ViStar Credit Union. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park studio at TIAA Bank Field. The Publix Tailgate show continues ahead of the Jaguars Vikings in Week 13, a 1 o'clock kick time. This portion of the Publix Tailgate show is brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. And Joe DANNA is the safeties coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a group that's been beat up a little bit this year, a lot this year. Guys in and out of the lineup. Jared Wilson missed the early part of the season. He's back now. Josh Jones should be back today. He's been banged up some with a chest issue, so a lot of moving parts back there.
Yeah,
Mike.
Daniel Thomas, a guy they would have liked to get a longer look at as well, going on IR. So it is good to get Jones back. I think Jones, I'd like to see what they say about him after the season in terms of how well he's played, because I think early on he was around the ball a lot, but that can be deceptive at times with defensive backs, right?
Like, it's 30 yards down the field.
Right,
and,
but he was around the ball, making a lot of tackles, things like that. He had a tendency, to go in there a little too aggressively on the tackles sometimes, got a few penalties along the way, so maybe a few weeks on the sidelines watching things that sometimes gives you a better perspective, but I'm curious to see how he plays today.
Joe DANNA breaks down his position group and calling plays on defense a week ago.
Jaguars secondary coach and coach of the safeties for the Jaguars defense, Joe DANNA, joining us now. And Joe, it's good to see you. Thanks for your time. First of all, let's start with last week. A fairly rare opportunity, actually, to jump in and call plays in an actual regular season NFL game on defense. How was the week? I know it had to be a little hectic with all the changes on the coaching staff.
The whole year has been that way, really. I think it's been a year of improvise and adjust. It seems like every week, whether it's a new protocol, new schedule, whatever it may be, I think we're kind of been prepared for this, and that anything and everything is possible. I just think as a staff, with leadership of Coach Marone, I think we handled it about as good as we could.
How about the actual calling of plays during game for you? That had to be, I'm sure at some point you'd like to be a coordinator in your future.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it. We game plan like we normally do throughout the week. So Coach Wash and I, we were talking throughout the week, and felt very prepared going into it. Thought we had a good plan as a staff, and I thought we operated on game day as good as we could.
Joe DANNA with us, secondary coach of the safeties. Let's get into the safeties now and start with Jared Wilson. He was banged up early in the season. He's been back now. He's nominated for the Bart Starr Award. He's been around here for a long time now here in Jacksonville. How good is this guy to work with on a day-to-day basis? Maybe not just on the field, but inside the building as well.
Yeah, easy to talk about. One of the best pros I've ever been around. This is my 13th year in the league, and we've been together for 4 years now. And you talk about a guy that takes his job extremely serious. He prepares. He asks the right questions. He's like a coach on the field. He's really everything you want in a player, and he makes my job a whole lot easier. That's for sure.
Josh Jones could be back this week, a chest injury, but his story is pretty remarkable, too. The guy about a year ago didn't know if he was going to play football again. The Jags claimed him off waivers at the end of last season. I don't think he's going to take anything for granted. That's not his personality. He knows how valuable this opportunity is for him. And he comes and brings the effort, I think, every time he's out there, Josh Jones.
Yeah, he's a guy throughout his career. He's experienced some ups and downs. He's just a hungry player. Like you mentioned, he doesn't take anything for granted. He knows how valuable and how special it is to be a part of the NFL. And he goes about his business and goes about his play kind of with that in mind. And again, another good guy to coach, gives us everything he's got every time he's out there.
They can bring the lumber too now, right?
Yeah, he's a big safety. He's what you want in defending the run game. That's for sure.
Joe DANNA with a safeties coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now to the young guys. Daniel Thomas was starting to show a little something on defense. It was kind of tough to get him on the field on defense early in the season. Then on special teams, he started to flash the punt block, and then some injuries happened. And actually, Josh Jones got ejected from the game, and he plays the whole second half and leads the team in tackles. And you have to be excited about what he could be in the future here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good young player. Another guy, he's benefited from having some good veteran leadership in the room, some good guys to learn from, learning how to study, how to prepare. Having guys like a Jared Wilson in the room has been valuable for him. And another guy, when he had opportunities, took advantage of it. And, unfortunately, he had the injury, really thought he had some momentum going. Look forward to what he can what the future holds for him.
Andrew Wingard, the flowing locks of blonde hair flying around on the back end of your defense. It's his second year now. How has he grown?
It's really played well. He's a guy that maybe never had a consistent role, but is always ready to go for whatever injury. He could play any position you want. Really smart guy, but this guy is aggressive. He's fearless, has some playmaking and instincts to his game. Maybe a little bit underrated, but, when you really look at it, he's played some good football this year.
All right, Joe, final thought here. Going up to Minnesota against the Vikings offense that is hot right now. Cousins is playing well, obviously. The receivers are back to full strength. They've got a running game. Great challenge, but a great opportunity for the secondary this week as well.
Yeah, no doubt. They got good players, a good quarterback. They can run it. Got two guys on the outside, got a good group of tight ends. So we've got our hands full, but, I think that's the case every week in the NFL, and we look forward to that challenge. Our guys are ready to roll, ready to go up there and get a win.
Good luck to you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, JP.
Joe DANNA, Jaguars secondary coach of the safeties, and the full conversation available now on the official Jaguars podcast network presented by ViStar, and I had some good things to say about these guys on the back end of the defense. And as we said, it has been a challenge just because week to week you have two different guys out there, it seems like.
Oh, they've had a lot of challenges defensively. But you're right, JP. You don't get in a rhythm, as they talked about this week, with the quarterback position. You just want to see a guy have some stability and be able to play a few weeks in a row here. And that's why they're going with Mike Glennon in part. And it's the same thing with every other position. And the secondary's been a bit of a revolving door this year.
Be sure to check out Jags at Home. It's an interactive second screen experience on game day featuring Ashlyn Sullivan and Eric Dunn. And each game day, you'll have a chance to win $10,000 in cash and prizes. That's right. Visit jagsathome.com for more information on how you can play and you can win. They'll be on the air close to 1 o'clock today. We're back in a moment with CBS Sports play-by-play announcer Beth Mowins. She'll be the first woman to call a Jaguars game on television today. She'll explain her path to now and preview today's game, the Jaguars and the Vikings at 1 o'clock. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Dreamfinders Homes has a simple commitment to their home buyers. Deliver unsurpassed quality, uncompromising value, and an extraordinary level of customization you simply won't find with other home builders. With over 40 communities to choose from, you'll find a location you love and the home of your dreams. Dreamfinders has townhomes, single-family homes, and custom estate homes starting from the high 100s and a wide selection of move-in ready homes. Quality, value, customization. That's the Dreamfinders difference. Call 904-738-0165 or online at dreamfindershomes.com. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Prices subject to change without notice. Equal housing opportunity.
The best way to feel love is to share it. At Hanania Subaru of Orange Park, we always go the extra mile with bigger selection, more savings, our best service. Only Subaru of Orange Park gives you a nationwide lifetime warranty and 1 year complimentary maintenance on new and used vehicles. Plus, when you get a new Subaru during the Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru will donate $250 to your choice of charities. At Hanania Subaru of Orange Park. Online at SubaruofOrangePark.com. See dealer website for full details.
Hey Jags fans, heading to TIAA Bank for a game? Take advantage of Jags Pay and keep your stadium transactions touch-free. Jags Pay is an all-new partnership between the Jaguars and Tap It to give our fans a contactless payment option for all concessions and merchandise. It's fast, safe, and easy to use. Just download the official Jaguars app on any mobile device, tap Jags Pay, and set up your secure payment method. You're all set. To learn more, visit jaguars.com/JagsPay. See you at the bank.
Hey Jacksonville, this is Joe Adib from Bono's. I just want to let you know that we have now reopened all of our dining rooms. We appreciate all the love that you have showed us during this crisis. For over 71 years, we have been here for you through good times and bad. Our award-winning barbecue and our unbelievable staff look forward to seeing you soon. Be safe.
Hey, Florida drivers and motorcycle riders, don't fumble. Do your part to stay safe on our roadways. Florida has observed a significant number of motorcycle fatalities and crashes. Drivers, watch for motorcycles. Don't drive distracted. Motorcycles are hard to see. Take the extra effort to look for them. Riders, play defense. Always ride responsibly. Wear proper gear. Make yourself more visible. Get trained and never drink and ride. On the road, safety is worth way more than 2 points. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Floridians know what it means to stand together. That's why Florida Blue is committed to the people of Florida by providing health care with lower costs and higher quality. Enroll within 60 days of life-changing events, such as losing your job, to get benefits like plans as low as $0 a month and up to $500 per year towards your premiums and wellness rewards. Call 1-800-750-0164 or visit floridablue.com/care today. Florida Blue is a trade name of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Florida, Incorporated. These health benefit plans have limitations and exclusions.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
Welcome back. The Publix Tailgate Show rolls along. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park studio at TIAA Bank Field. The Jaguars and the Vikings coming up at 1 o'clock in Minneapolis. Two teams going opposite directions. The Jags at 1-10. The Vikings are 5-6, trying to cling to life in the NFC wild card picture. Beth Mowins will have the call of the game on CBS today. She's been with ESPN since about 2005, doing college football, college basketball. She was the voice of the Women's College World Series for 25 years on ESPN. Has done all kind of Olympic sports over the years. But now, as the years have gone along, she's built her career into more and more football on ESPN, and now jumps on CBS late in the season a couple of times a year to call NFL games, including today. She'll be the first woman to call a Jaguars game or a Vikings game on network television, and it was fun visiting with her this week.
It's a nice milestone, but I think what's nice is that not that big of a deal has to be made of it, right? I mean, Beth Mowins, I don't think anybody says anything other than she's quite capable of handling the job. So she's just another person. Look, you and I didn't play in the National Football League. Frank Franchi didn't play in the NFL. He can call Jaguar games. There's no reason why Beth Mowins can't. And the fact that a big deal isn't made out of it, I think, is a pretty good sign of progress.
We'll get her perspective on that and a preview of today's game. Beth Mowins of CBS.
With the call of today's game on CBS Sports, Beth Mowins joining us now. And I believe, Beth, is the first time we've had you on a Jaguars game. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, when I was prepping for Monday Night Football several years ago, we actually had a Jags pregame that we broadcast to no one but ourselves, a preseason game. So,
wow.
So I'm anxious to actually be heard and have one in the regular season.
You are the first woman to call a Jaguars game. I know that. And do you consider yourself a pioneer of sorts, or is that too heavy of a burden?
I know that it means a lot to other people, and hopefully is inspiring to young boys and girls that want to get into this business, and I do realize the significance of it, and I'm proud of that. But from my perspective, it's always been my day to day. It's always been my dream job, and something that I've pursued with a lot of vigor ever since I was young. So. As you know, while you're in it and you're focused on the task at hand, that does make it a little easier sometimes to block out a lot of the noise, and then perhaps JP go back afterwards and sort of embrace those moments and sort of relish in the history of it a little bit.
Beth Mowins with us, CBS Sports. What is your balance of duties now? Are you still doing ESPN stuff as well? And you're jumping on CBS this week. How often are you on the Columbia broadcast system now?
This is always the crazy time of year. There was a while where I was doing volleyball championships, soccer championships, college football, NFL, men's basketball, women's basketball. I've been able to pare that down and narrow it down a little bit. So have had some basketball games on the schedule, and have been doing college football with ESPN. I get an opportunity to enjoy some friends with the NFL on CBS this week, and possibly again at the end of the regular season. So been fortunate to have my hand in a lot of different things. And I understand they replayed my Price is Right episode from last week, so I'll be expecting that royalties check anytime now.
I love it. Beth Mowins with us as the play-by-play of the game on CBS today. All right, let's get to the game now, Beth. Doug Marrone trying to keep this team fighting. He's safe through the 2020 season. After that, who knows? It's a great challenge for Doug because they're out of the race. It's a young, beat-up football team, really both sides of the ball. They're on their third quarterback. They're 1-10. I get it. But they're fighting in some of these games, Beth, and I think Doug is a big reason why this group has stayed as close as they have this part of the season.
Yeah. You look at the schedule, it's 3 of the last 4 games that are within 4 points. And you hate to talk about moral victories. Those don't necessarily count in the NFL, but that does, I think, show that the guys are still fighting. The shelf life in the NFL is so short that, even if you've got to turn to your backups or bring guys off the practice squad, there is such a hunger and such a desire to prove that you belong that I think Doug and the coaching staff have been able to get the most out of those guys. And tip of the cap to some of these veterans that are making the most of an opportunity, and certainly to these young rookies that are coming in and having an impact. I mean, James Robinson is one of the feel-good stories of the season. We're certainly going to make a big deal on the broadcast today about Robinson and Justin Jefferson trying to wrestle that Rookie of the Year honor away from another quarterback as good as Justin Herbert's been with the Chargers. But I think there are some positives to take. And I think that, what other option do you have? It's not in anybody's DNA, I don't think, to call it quits before the season comes to its conclusion.
You mentioned James Robinson, and his running style is just fantastic to watch. He's hard to hit. He hits the hole. He's decisive. And in fact, he only has 11 negative runs this entire season.
I'm going to write that one down.
You might want to take a note on that one. It's an impressive stat. I mean, because the guy's always falling forward. And if they didn't have James Robinson, I don't know what they would be on offense, Beth.
Yeah, and it's one of those stories. It's just amazing how everybody kept missing how good this kid was coming out of high school and coming out of college, and credit to the Jags for finding this guy. He's so compact and so powerful, and you just see him able to run around guys and run past guys, but also when necessary, run right through people. And it's been a real pleasure to watch him on tape and some of the games that I've been looking at for the Jags, and hopefully he can keep it up. It's something that he's chasing that scrimmage rookie record, and hopefully he can continue to flirt with that and make that a big story moving forward.
Beth Mowins with us from CBS has the play-by-play of the Jaguars-Vikings game today at 1 o'clock. On the other side, it's a Jaguars defense that is just beat up all over the field. The linebackers are about the only guys who've been out there most of the year, Miles Jack and Joe Schobert. But you look in the secondary, there's a lot of young guys getting an opportunity because other players are injured. And this is not the week for that, with Jefferson and Thielen and those guys and Kirk Cousins slinging it around pretty well lately. It's a Minnesota offense. You mentioned Jefferson, but they've got guys outside that can match up very well, it feels like, against this Jaguars secondary, unfortunately for the Jaguars this week.
Yeah, it's I think a tough time to come up against the likes of Thielen and Jefferson and Cousins. You could make the case he's been the best quarterback in the league since their bye, over the last 5 weeks or so. So it's definitely going to be a big challenge. It's really a calling card for Schobert and Miles Jack to just have monster afternoons and hope that those guys in the back can rise up.
Tough matchup for the Jags on the defensive side today. It's a Vikings team that needs it. Obviously, they're in the wild card race, but they won't be for long if they lose games like this. So they're going to be up for this game. There's no letdown game, certainly at this point of the year. If you're in the race in the NFL in December, there's no such thing as a letdown game, or there shouldn't be.
No, and I think probably they were, hit pretty hard in the face with that 1-5 start. And so this is some magic coming out of that bye week. And according to our research, a win for the Vikings and a loss for the Cardinals moves Minnesota into that 7 spot. Next week, they face Tampa Bay. So an opportunity to pass Tampa Bay with the head-to-head if they get a win next week. And Detroit and Chicago, which you would think would be winnable. And then depending on New Orleans and what's going on, whether they've clinched or not, or whether Drew Brees is back, an opportunity for them to do some damage down the stretch. So I would imagine they would be fired up and ready to roll.
Beth Mowins, CBS Sports, has the call of the game today. The full visit available on the official Jaguars podcast network presented by ViStar.
Yeah, you're not going to get too many teams that are looking past anybody this year, because with the expanded playoff field, either if you're a really good team, there's only one bye to be had, so you're going to keep your foot on the accelerator, and there are more playoff spots, and there's still the possibility of them expanding to 8 per conference if they were to have really serious issues with COVID-19 shutting down a lot of games down the final month of the season. It's not the most likely scenario, but even with the expanded playoff field, it's going to keep teams like Minnesota in it longer and therefore keeping their foot down as well.
The one team that won't have to worry about that are the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Eliminated last week.
Unfortunately. This week's Selfies for Change player is center Brandon Linder. Take a virtual selfie with him and unlock a donation to tackle social injustice. Get started at TIAABank.com/selfies-for-change. Time for our weekly visit with Jag sideline reporter Rick Ballou, presented by McGowan's Heating and Air, and we call it Has Rick Lost It?
All right, so Dave Caldwell fired this week. 39-87 was his tenure here in Jacksonville, and he'll be remembered for a lot of things, but for me, it'll come down to really this. It was about the quarterback, or in this case, perhaps the lack of. However, if you look at the resume with Dave Caldwell, all right, 2013 when he took over the team, only quarterback selected in that draft in the first round, E.J. Manuel. That's a pass. In 14, he grabbed Bortles. Now, you can make the case for Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, or Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, there's been a lot of injuries there. Would any one of those quarterbacks have been better for the Jags? I don't know. Taking them to the AFC Championship game in January of 2018. That's up to you to decide. In 15, you had Jameis. You had Marcus Mariota. In 16, Jerry Goff, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch. Any one of those really stick out for you? Remember, for Caldwell, that was the year of his best draft. Jalen, Miles, Unique, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, there was a power struggle. Was it Dave's fault? I don't know. Well, many say it was Tom Coughlin. That's the reason why Jalen's not here. That's the reason why Unique's not here. Problems really began for Dave Caldwell in 2017. The unforgivable mistake was Deshaun Watson passing him up in drafting Leonard Fournette. Also in that first round, already a Super Bowl champion in Patrick Mahomes. That's his biggest miss. On top of it, a year later, a contract extension for Blake Bortles. A year after that, a ridiculous contract for Nick full. So, why'd I bring this up today? It's real simple. It's going to be an incredible offseason around here. The biggest situation that the new GM has to get right. Not the coach, not free agency, not the staff. It's finding the right quarterback. Hey, good luck to whoever it is who holds that position. A lot easier said than done.
Has Rick lost it? Presented by McGowan's Heating and Air, proudly keeping your family comfortable since 1974. 904-264-COOL. We're back on the Publix Tailgate Show. Rookie wide receiver Colin Johnson joins Ashlyn Sullivan in our Baptist Health Connection with a player. The Jags and the Vikings tee it up today at 1 o'clock in Minneapolis. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio. Headquartered right here in Jacksonville, the CSI Companies is one of the fastest growing staffing firms in the nation. As a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI knows how important it is to find the right people for your team. See why some of Jacksonville's top companies choose CSI for their staffing needs. Visit thecsicompanies.com or call 800-582-0828 today. That's 800-582-0828 for the CSI Companies.
Hey Jaguars fans, are you ready to talk some trash? Well, nobody talks trash quite like Waste Pro, the official waste service and recycling partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Specializing in residential and commercial solid waste and recycling collection, processing, and disposal, Waste Pro is equipped to handle all your recycling and garbage removal needs. For service, call 904-731-7288. Waste Pro, caring for communities and caring for Jacksonville.
You're working from home. So how do you connect with coworkers and clients? With RingCentral, the #1 global communication solution for business. RingCentral makes talking, texting, collaborating, and video calls easy. And it's all on one platform. And when we say everyone should be connected, we mean it. It's why we're giving RingCentral free to educators, health providers, and nonprofits. Learn more at ringcentral.com. Welcome to the new RingCentral.
Happy holidays, Jaguars fans. Celebrate Thanksgiving weekend with the whole family at TIAA Bank Field as your Jacksonville Jaguars face off against the Cleveland Browns Sunday, November 29th. Single game tickets are still available at Jaguars.com or by calling 904-633-2000. Nothing brings a family together like NFL football, and the Jaguars game day experience is great for all ages. Limited tickets remain. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets today.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
At ViStar, we believe in better convenience, so members can bank any way they want, whether it's at a branch, on a mobile device, or at one of more than 20,000 fee-free ATMs across North America. We believe that people have better things to do with their time. If you believe that convenience is better, join ViStar. We never forget that it's your money. All loans subject to approval, insured by NCUA.
Jaguars Game Day presented by ViStar Credit Union. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. We're at the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park studio at TIAA Bank Field. The Jags and the Vikings coming up at 1 o'clock in Week 13. And Crystal Restaurants remains committed to the health and safety of guests and team members. Crystal drive-thrus are open 6 a.m. to midnight. Restaurants are offering delivery through Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. Did you get your hands on some Crystal Chicks today?
No, because you beat me to it once again. You have an uncanny sense for when they're going to arrive.
Undefeated, in fact, those Crystal Chicks.
They're fantastic.
They are.
But I hear that word of mouth.
They're part of our game day tradition. Make Crystal part of yours as well. Time now for the Baptist Health Connection with a player. This week it's wide receiver Collin Johnson, the rookie out of Texas, visiting with Ashlyn Sullivan.
Collin Johnson coming off a game with a touchdown catch, and Collin definitely was more involved in the game plan last week. So can we expect more big things from you? And how do you prepare week to week knowing your snap counts may vary?
I just always try to prepare the best I can, and that if I'm playing every single play. So I assume I'm just going to play every play and just adjust accordingly. So whether it's my job to play 10 plays that game or play the whole game, I'll be ready.
And it was interesting, you mentioned in your post-game press conference that you feel really comfortable with quarterback Mike Glennon, who is starting again this week. And it goes way back to training camp and in scout team. It seems like maybe you, out of any wide receiver, might have the most reps with him.
I definitely have a lot of reps with Mike, since the beginning of the season until now. And it kind of was just on display a little bit last Sunday because, we've got so much work together. So I heard he's, going to be starting again this Sunday. I'm excited for him and just excited to continue to try to make his job easy by just catching the ball when he throws it to me.
You were definitely giving high praise where high praise is due to running back James Robinson. And it seems like you and all the other teammates are giving him praise because he's starting to get that national attention of Pro Bowl and maybe Offensive Rookie of the Year. But at least to me in the outside world, it seems like he's the same even-keeled guy and hasn't changed because of those accolades.
For sure, and I think that's why he gains the respect of the locker room so much, because just the ability to perform the way he does and just continue to just work the way he does, and always just a humble guy. And it's just, like I said, it's contagious to the guys in the locker room, so he definitely deserves all the praise that's coming his way, and he's just going to continue to keep balling the rest of the season and help this team for sure.
You said that you had lost the touchdown ball from Sunday. Did you find it?
I actually did. I found it. Well, George found it, our EQ guy, and he's always on it, man. So I thanked him personally for helping me out because it feels like every time I score, I lose the ball, and then George saves me. So I definitely have it, and it's in my closet in my apartment too. So now I got both of my touchdown balls.
Nice. So what's the plan for the touchdown balls? Are you going to make like a nice little shrine, like a man cave? What's the game plan there?
For sure. Once the day comes when I get a house, I'm obviously going to dedicate, a room to just maybe the jerseys I collected from, my college teammates or the guys I respect around the league over years, and also just the touchdown balls, whatever I want to put in there. But I'm definitely going to have a man cave for it.
Nice. Big plans coming for Collin Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you, Ashley.
Collin Johnson taking advantage of his opportunity last week with those guys out.
I hope he builds a big man cave, right? And he stuffs it with another 100 of those balls. Look, JP, next year, we've talked about this a lot, but DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, Collin Johnson, those are the receivers that are under contract for the Jaguars after 2020. So he has a great opportunity down the stretch here to show that he belongs and he could be part of at the top end of the rotation of the Jaguars depth chart next year.
The Baptist Health Connection with a player this week, Collin Johnson, the wide receiver from Texas. Baptist Health, changing healthcare for good. Now let's get to our weekly visit with Director of Player Engagement, Marcus Pollard. He takes us inside the team this week, headed into Week 13.
A weekly feature of the Publix Tailgate Show is our visit with Director of Player Engagement and former NFL tight end, Marcus Pollard.
Holding it down.
Into December. You're
Into
still
December.
holding it. Here we are.
Still holding it.
Still holding it. Still holding it down. Thank you for that. 5 games to go. One major change already. Dave Caldwell is out as the general manager. How does that shake up things in the building? Is it a wake-up call of sorts, or what's the reaction in the hallways of TIAA Bank Field?
Yeah, I would think it's a little bit uncertainty, I think, would be the biggest adjective that I would use to describe, what's happening here with us. Dave kind of solidified the current staff and positions and things without happens within the stadium. And so to him not being here presents a little bit of uncertainty about the future. And it can be a little bit scary to face that future with uncertainty. But it creates some adversity. It also wakes some people up. Hey, you've probably been sitting around thinking, hey, I got it made. Dave Caldwell is my buddy. Hey, there's going to be a new GM that's going to come in and decide, hey, what's the future for this organization and team? So you got to be on your P's and Q's.
Shad Khan also said that Doug Marrone and the coaching staff are safe through 2020. So 5 games to go in this season. And Doug Marrone has been on record since last week saying that they're still going to go try to win football games. That's all he can do as the head coach, is keep this group of 53 motivated and ready to go week to week.
Yeah, and I think Doug has done a phenomenal job, even going back when we were dealing with the social justice stuff. Doug has been great with the players. He's been championing them. He's been encouraging them. He's been finding a way to keep them motivated. And to me, it's got to be an impossible job. I would not want it at this point to find a way to motivate 53 young men when it doesn't seem like they have anything to play for. But Doug and the staff has done a phenomenal job of trying to get these guys motivated, getting them ready for games. And so let's just see what happens today. But I'm excited about what the future holds for us.
Doug Marrone also said that Mike Glennon, they feel like, gives them the best chance to win at the quarterback position, so he'll get his second consecutive start this week against the Minnesota Vikings. Last week, the statistics were okay, and I felt like it was a better feeling overall at the quarterback position last week. What did you think?
I would agree with you, and I would think from a receiver's perspective, not just the wide receivers, but tight ends, backs, the whole deal, I think with, Mike taking some shots down the field, I think those guys were excited about that opportunity. I think James was a little bit excited because you can't really stack the box against him. And so there are a lot of benefits to having a guy like Mike Glennon, get his second start for us, and let's just go win some football games.
It's a banged-up defense, Marcus. Obviously, it's been beat up all year long, and it only gets worse and worse. And more guys going down. Hamilton goes down last week. But now it's about who steps out on the grass on defense. I mean, Miles Jack and Joe Schobert are looking around like, who the heck are these guys out here? That's got to be the feeling for the guys that are remaining from the start of the year.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be an awful feeling, too, to look around and you start the season with all these guys and you look around now, it's just you and Joe Schobert at linebacker. But to me, that's the nature of the game. You got to find a guy that can play, and that's what's so important about building a roster. That second and third tiered player has to find a way to produce and develop for a team in this situation. And that's what our hope is. Hopefully the guys that we've selected, guys that we brought in, can go out and produce and help this team win a football game. Miles and Joe Schobert would be looking around like, hey, listen, you need to move on a little bit. You need to be in a 5 technique. You need to be in a 7. And so they'll probably have to do a little bit more quarterbacking from a defense perspective than they had to do early in the year.
Okay, Marcus, I need you to get your new knees warmed up and ready to go because we might need you as a quarantine quarterback down the stretch here, okay? And get that wing loose.
Get that old shoulder lubed up with a little icy hot to get it warmed up so I can sling that pail around.
We'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds good, JP. Appreciate it, brother.
The comments of Marcus Pollard, a weekly feature of the Publix Tailgate show. Yeah, last week the Broncos appealed to the league to see if some assistants could play.
They wanted to elevate some assistant coaches. What were they?
The quality control.
Was it quality
types,
control? Is that
like
what it was? Yeah, but they were guys that had played quarterback in college, but it had been like 15 years. No, you can't just have a coach play quarterback this week. So,
we were joking, of course, to the end there with Marcus.
I know you were. I know you were. They were serious
not.
about it. And they ended up going with Kendall Hinton, who completed 1 pass last week, and showed you why just because he played quarterback in college, which he did, doesn't mean you can translate that to the National Football League necessarily.
Coming up, the second hour of the Publix Tailgate Show of the top headlines of the week, plus first rounds on us, our weekly visit with our resident first rounders, Tony Baselli and Jeff Loggeman. They'll chime in for the first time. Jags Vikings at 1 o'clock. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Why live with foot or ankle pain? If you have persistent pain, numbness, tingling, burning pain on the bottom of your foot, or swelling that doesn't improve with home treatment, it may be time to see Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. Our foot and ankle specialists have innovative new options to help you get back in the swing of things without persistent pain that slows you down. Call JOI 2000 or go to joionline.net for an appointment.
Jaguars fans, game day is back, and while it might look a little different this year, the good times, smooth drinks, and tailgate excitement will never change when you're cheering on the Jags with Jameson. So pull up a seat, pour a smooth Jameson, ginger, and lime, and enjoy game day with Jameson. Taste responsibly. Jameson Irish Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof. Product of Ireland. Copyright 2020. Imported by John Jameson Import Company, New York, New York.
Pinpoint, the official signage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, helps business decision makers like you maximize the impact of their brand. Your company's identification, advertising, and even the words you use make an impression on your clients. With Pinpoint as your coach, you can make sure it's a good impression. Pinpoint provides the creative design and production services for anything you need to enhance your brand, from custom signage to complete marketing solutions. Step up your game with Pinpoint and create the ultimate brand experience for your clients. Visit experiencepinpoint.com.
The wait for the holidays is over, America. It's time to make some joy. And we're here to help with the Ford Built for the Holidays sales event. We're offering the best deals of the season across the Ford lineup, so you can road trip with the whole family comfortably in a Ford Expedition. Bring home a tree that's bigger than you ever have with a built Ford Tough F-150. And find new ways to make the holidays bright this year when you visit your local Ford dealer. The joy is up to you, America, so let's get to it. Ford, built for the holidays.
Oi.
Bonjour.
Xin chào.
Добрый день. كيف فينا نساعدكم?
¿Cómo te podemos ayudar?
If you have an accident, the last thing you should have to worry about is a language barrier. That's why at Farah & Farah, we have a team as diverse as our clients. So no matter what language you speak, we'll fight for your voice. Farah & Farah, here for you.
نحن هون للكل.
Ici pour vous. Aquí para todos.
Here for all. Jacksonville.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park Studio at TIAA Bank Field. A 1 o'clock kickoff time today for the Jaguars at 1-10 and the Vikings at 5-6 in Week 13. Two teams going opposite ways here. The Jags have dropped 10 in a row. The Vikings have won 4 out of the last 5 to climb back into the wild card picture at least. And now the stretch run begins, and they can't afford to be losing many ball games down the stretch if they want to stay alive in the NFC.
No, it's certainly not against a team that's on a 10-game losing streak, but that's their issue, where the Jaguars not going up there worrying about what Minnesota needs to have happen here. And the irony is, if the Jags win, obviously it would potentially move them down, although they've got a little wiggle room at the top of the draft. The Jags need to win a couple of games before they could move out of the top 2 picks. Meanwhile, every loss you could put on Minnesota makes your other second-round pick a little bit better this year. So you'll get a benefit one way or the other out of this one.
Let's get to today's top stories and start with the biggest story of the week. Dave Caldwell out as the general manager. What should the Jags look for in a GM? Well, we discussed it with NFL Network analyst Bucky Brooks on Wednesday's Jaguars Happy Hour.
General manager has to have a clear vision for how to win games and how to make a team competitive year after year after year. As fans, we want the team to be in the Super Bowl every year, but I think a realistic thing is, can I get a team that consistently wins 10-plus games a year? Because 10-plus games a year will put us in the tournament and give us a shot. Then it's about, what is the model that we want to use? Are we a homegrown model? Are we going to draft and develop, re-sign our players, and those guys are going to be our core? Are we going to spend money and try and acquire free agents? All of that stuff matters.
Yeah, and we'll have a month or so to discuss and dissect and delve into it from here on.
Yeah, quite frankly, every team says they want to be a homegrown team. We want to draft and develop our players. I don't know a single team that doesn't want to do that. Yet almost every team has to supplement that with free agents. That's just the way it is. You simply don't have enough draft picks, and you're going to miss on some. And, the bottom line is, if you find the right quarterback, you can stay competitive. You can lose free agents. You can miss on draft picks. If you hit on a Russell Wilson, an Aaron Rodgers, a guy like that, then year after year, those teams seem to find themselves in contention no matter how good their defense is, no matter how strong the running game is, no matter what the skill position players are like or the offensive line play. It's all about the quarterback. Now, that's an oversimplification, but it is by far the most important position in football. You can't if you've got the right quarterback, JP, it's more important than having the next 5 positions right, in my opinion. You know, whoever that happens to be, if you don't have the right signal caller, you're not going to be the team Bucky Brooks is talking about, putting yourself in position year after year.
In 2017, they had all the other positions right.
Right, and that happened for a year.
For one
year. And it came together for a year.
That's
and then
right.
It fell apart immediately,
That's
and
right.
that is the problem. And imagine if you had a Russell Wilson, who they obviously could have had, you know, and along with numerous other ones over the years, we'd maybe talking about a team that's been on a long playoff run, and who knows, maybe even brought home a championship over the last few years.
They'd at least be on the graphic right now of In the Hunt on the TV
You would
graphic.
think so.
They were on that for a year or so, and no longer on the graphic since they've been eliminated.
It's a tease.
It is.
When you've lost 9 in a row and you're
in
still
the hunt.
mathematically alive, just take us off there, please.
Let's get to today's game. Mike Glennon, the starting quarterback for a second straight week, and Doug Marrone, though, not committing to him the rest of the season.
You know, everything in this league is day to day, week to week. You know, and I think, you know, especially when we're having the season, you know, that we're having right now, and we're trying to get ourselves focused on Minnesota to, you know, for a win. So every position, you know what I'm saying, has to play well, you know, from week to week. And if we feel like someone else behind them can produce better or give us a better chance to win, and I think we'll go ahead and make that move.
So, yeah, week to week, and Glennon understands that, too. He said it this week. I get it. You know, if I'm not playing well, if I'm not giving us the best chance to win, then you got to make a change, and, you know, they're trying to win games down the stretch.
Right, and for Mike Glennon, he wants to win. He wants to perform well because he wants his career to continue. You can have a very lucrative career as a backup, but he's like, hey, you know what? Maybe I get a chance to go in and compete somewhere, or at least maybe I get to be the primary backup to a quarterback, and if opportunity arises, I'll get that opportunity to go in and show I can still do it. And for him, today's a huge game to build off of last week. No turnovers, couple of touchdowns, and he's been pretty good in that department, 38-20 in his career, TD to interception ratio. So if he can get that up over 2-1 at the end of the day, that means he's thrown 2 more touchdowns than interceptions. You probably take that if you're the Jags.
Well, now, the question is, what happens if the Jaguars have a Broncos situation like last week? All the quarterbacks on the roster were ineligible for the game due to COVID-19 restrictions and contact tracing. Well, Laviska Shenault is the emergency quarterback for the Jaguars, but offensive coordinator Jay Gruden does not want to see that happen.
Not very at all. That'd be an awful situation for us, and we would probably get beat like Denver did. I think they scored 3 points, which is quite amazing. So I think they should all get a plaque in the Hall of Fame for scoring 3 points without a quarterback. So it's no fun. I mean, there's nothing we can really do except direct snap it, run the ball up between the tackles or some zone reads, all that stuff, and not a lot of options there. Occasionally, maybe it's okay.
Yeah, occasionally, but you don't want to make a habit out of it.
A package of plays, right. But honestly, it'd be kind of fun to see because Laviska's such a fun guy with the ball in his hands, but clearly you don't want to do that if you're a professional team. And, you know, it hasn't been an issue with the Jags. If you it wouldn't have been an issue with Denver. These guys didn't come down with COVID. They just didn't adhere to the mask policy. And had they done that, they wouldn't have had any problem. Drew Lock would have started at quarterback. They would have had all their depth chart with the exception of Jeff Driscoll because they were deemed to be in close proximity to him without wearing a mask.
Or, you know, if one of those guys in that room wore a mask,
Just
that
one.
guy probably would have played.
Just think about it. If Blake Bortles had worn a mask,
He
he might have
started.
gotten the Mike Glennon start, right?
That's
Like,
right.
hey, don't forget, I can come out here and still help a football team. Like, as a backup, I can come in and play on the spur of the moment. But, you know, they made their own bet as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and the league does have cameras that they have access to in all the buildings around the NFL to see mask policy is being followed. Now let's get to James Robinson, Jaguars running back, head coach Doug Marrone on his radio show Thursday night. Couldn't say enough good things about the rookie out of Illinois State.
I mean, he's everything that you would want. I really can't say enough about him. I don't know at the end of the year what, you know, not this year, but at the end of the day what his career is going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a long career and a lot of great stats. But, we still have 5 games left, and he still looks very good, and his totals have been going higher now. It's one of the things we looked at early about, how many touches should he have, and now it's getting more and more, and it's well deserved.
Feed the beast, in my opinion. Keep feeding him.
Why wouldn't you? Right? I mean, he's averaging 4.6 yards a carry. I have a lot of people in the fantasy community go, hey, what's going to happen if there's a coaching staff change? Are they going to stick with James Robinson? I asked them, are they going to hire a crazy person? Because that would be the only reason why. I mean, why wouldn't you take this? This is a team that's going to have a lot of holes going in the offseason. Here's one you look at and you say, we got the guy. We have the guy. Do we need maybe a few different guys on the bench? Whatever. Okay, fine. James Robinson is proving he can handle, right now, the biggest percentage of the touches of any running back in the National Football League, and you don't want to wear him out. But, yeah, JP, ride him, man, because he is the most consistent offensive threat they've had. I can't imagine any coaching staff that wouldn't come in and say, well, we've got our ball carrier for the next several years.
Let's get to the defense. Todd Wash is back this week. He missed last week's game due to COVID-19 protocol, and he gave credit to the team for working through the changes on the defensive side a week ago.
We were able to watch practice. Some of the veterans were leading the drills and stuff, so now they know some of the things that we go through. I think it's a credit to our players and our coaches once they got in the building to make sure that we had a game plan ready. I think the players did a nice job of going out and executing it. Obviously, we fell short. And that's not what we want, but I think there's a lot of credit given to our players going through adversity.
Safeties coach Joe DANNA called the plays on defense a week ago, really a rare opportunity in the regular season to jump in and call defensive plays for a position coach who has hopes of one day becoming a coordinator. And now he's got a little experience in a real live Bullets game calling plays.
Yeah, and every coordinator then ultimately wants to be a head coach. At least usually that's the case. So, you don't get this chance very often. So good for him to get that experience. But Jags want their coaching staff back to full strength as soon as possible.
That's right. Now, safety Jared Wilson has been at it for a while around here, and it's tough when the team is struggling like they are right now, 10 consecutive losses. But Wilson knows there's only a few games remaining to go play well here in this season.
It's definitely difficult. I mean, it's frustrations each and every week when you don't get the outcome you want at the end of the week, which is a win. It's definitely frustrating, but we're a 1-10 ball club, and you can't hang your head or nothing about that. It's not like we're going to line up Sunday to lose. We still got 5 more opportunities, and expecting just to keep chugging and try to get a victory this Sunday. It doesn't really matter the record at this point. It's kind of still line up, and we got 5 more opportunities to get better, so let's get it.
Let's get it. Fifth year for Jared Wilson. Was kind of a reserve guy, special teams player in the first year or two around here because of the big-time names in the secondary back then, but he's worked his way into a reliable starting role here.
Yeah, and may, again, get the opportunity to continue that. You just don't know what they're going to prioritize in the offseason. They only have so many resources that you can go out there. But, JP, look, what he's saying when he says the record doesn't matter, clearly it matters. But what he's saying is in terms of how we prepare to play this week, because we talk about it all the time, whether it's OTAs, mini camps, preseason, anytime there's a camera on you, you're building lines on your resume. So how you play, you can't go to a team in free agency and say, hey, we weren't very good. What did you expect? No, they're going to say, this is what I saw on film. So these guys need to go out there with that attitude that every day could be their last, because it can, as we know in the National Football League.
There you have it, some of today's top stories. The Jaguars Game Day radio broadcast is presented by VyStar Credit Union. If you believe no car payment for 90 days is better, join VyStar, a standard feature on new or used car loans. VyStar never forgets that it's your money. No David Lamb this week. We hope to have him back in the fold next week. He's a weekly feature of the Publix Tailgate show. And Farah reminds you to continue to wear a mask. Help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Farah protecting you and your family since 1979. When we return, it's time for First Rounds on Us. Our weekly visit with our resident first rounders, Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman. The Jags and the Vikings tee it up at 1 o'clock. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Hey, Jags fans, did you know you can ride your bike to every Jaguars home game at TIAA Bank Field and valet park it for free? That's right. Stop by our bicycle check-in tent, sponsored by Alert Today Florida, near Gate 1 at TIAA Bank Field. An on-duty ZenCog bike professional will park your bike and ensure it's secured during the game. When the game's over, return your claim ticket and pick up your bike. For cycling safety tips, visit alerttodayflorida.com. Remember, Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident.
Jaguars fans, let's tackle social injustice together on game days with Selfies for Change. Visit TIAABank.com/selfies for change to take a virtual selfie with a Jaguars player and unlock a $5 donation to the Jaguars Foundation to help fight social injustice. Share your photo on Instagram or Twitter using hashtag Selfies for Change so more fans can be part of the movement. Join us on game days at TIAABank.com/selfies for change. TIAA Bank is the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If something's been hurting, aching, or bothering you, don't ignore it any longer. It's time to take care of your health again. It's time to make an appointment with a Baptist Health primary care doctor or specialist. Call 904-202-4U to schedule a virtual visit or see a doctor in person at a Baptist Health location. The time for better health is here. Call 904-202-4YOU or visit getbetterjacks.com.
Hey guys, I want to take a break here because I'm so excited to talk to you all about this experience Eric Dunn and I are hosting this season called Jags at Home. This thing is for anyone that could use an extra $10,000. I mean, who couldn't? And the Jaguars are actually giving away $2,500 every quarter of every game to whoever predicts the outcome of the game most accurately. Will the Jaguars convert this third down? What will be the result of this red zone trip? If you think you know football and the Jaguars, why are you letting other people take this money that should be yours? It's not like if you top the leaderboard, you have a chance to win. If you top the leaderboard, you will win $2,500 every quarter, every game. Seriously. So when you're watching the game every week, visit jagsathome.com on a mobile device, tablet, or even a desktop, and come get this money. Even better, you get to hang out with me and Eric Dunn while we chat it up during breaks. Again, that's jagsathome.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, Florida drivers and motorcycle riders, don't fumble. Do your part to stay safe on our roadways. Florida has observed a significant number of motorcycle fatalities and crashes. Drivers, watch for motorcycles. Don't drive distracted. Motorcycles are hard to see. Take the extra effort to look for them. Riders, play defense. Always ride responsibly. Wear proper gear. Make yourself more visible. Get trained and never drink and ride. On the road, safety is worth way more than 2 points. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park Studio at TIAA Bank Field as the Publix Tailgate show rolls along. The Jags and the Vikings tee it up today at 1 o'clock. Tickets for the Daly's Place 2021 season are on sale now, and they're great stocking stuffers. Great seats available for shows like Tedeschi Trucks Band, Kane Brown, Maren Morris, Alicia Keys, and many, many more. Go to dailysplace.com for more information and to buy tickets. Time now for First Rounds on Us.
New York Jets, first round choice, Jeff Lageman.
Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle Southern California, Tony Baselli.
Our resident first-round picks join us from the broadcast booth here in Jacksonville. The game is in Minneapolis today. Jeff Lageman and Tony Baselli. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, JP.
What's up? How we doing?
Welcome back, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Dempsey.
So let's start with the biggest news of the week. Dave Caldwell out. You've had a week to think about it. Was it the right time? Is there a right time?
It depends who you're asking if it's the right time or if when is the right time. If Dave Caldwell, probably not. No, probably not. Right. But I think and I don't know this for sure, but my guess is might have sped this up a little bit, guys. Is you had the Lions firing their GM, and now that's 3 GMs without jobs, and so you're going to be the 4th. And you also, if you look across the league, and you guys follow this as much as I do, I think there could be 6 to 8 openings for head coaches. So now you're looking like, okay, we're in a race, and we're going to have to compete to go get the guys we want possibly. And ideally you'd like your GM in place so you can start your coaching search as well. So you got a couple things out there, and so I think it was the right time. I think it was inevitable. It was going to happen. You look at we talk about analytics a lot today in all of sports, which they have a place. Well, the number one metric that you are judged on, Jeff, is wins and losses.
Yeah,
and that was the wrong side.
7 double-digit losses in 8 seasons when he was the general manager. I mean, you could make the argument that should have been done a while ago. But
well,
I mean,
we did.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The decision is made now. Everything else is water under the bridge, and now this organization needs to make the right decision going forward so that they can get successful. I mean, because it hasn't been successful lately, and it's a hard decision. It's an incredibly hard decision because you're trying to find so many different qualities in a general manager. One that can pick a head coach. You can also try to find somebody that has a great eye for talent and also is a great leader. I mean, that's a lot to find.
If you just rank those, how I rank those is leaders first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can hire people to pick and evaluate talent. I mean, that's a learned skill. You got to get the right leader. And in any organization, you look at successful organizations, I think there's 3 key roles that you have to get right. You got to get the GM right. You got to get the head coach right, and you got to get the quarterback right, because those are all leadership positions in your organization
and performance,
and they drive the train.
That's right,
and drive the ship or drive the car, whatever you want to be driving. But those individuals have to be the right people, and those are opportunities this year. We know we're going to hire a GM. It'll be interesting to see the coaches. Shad Khan said Doug Marone's safe throughout the rest of the year. But you're going to have a new GM kind of evaluate that.
You know what the coach's staff is doing right now, though? I mean, here's the reality.
Cleaning the resume up?
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way. It's natural. It's human nature. I mean,
absolutely.
If you got a new general manager coming in, you know your office door is closed more now than ever because of COVID, and now when that door is closed, you might be on the phone a little bit,
making your phone
calling
calls.
up some friends.
Yep.
And so with that happening, this week, and I think can go one of 2 ways. You can either have kind of a little bit of a rally, and when I say a rally, and then all of a sudden when somebody gets fired, people are on pins and needles a little bit, and they have a tendency to be a little bit more accountable. So they have a tendency to do their job a little bit better. Well, then the opposite effect is that coaches start worrying about my next stop. Players start worrying about, look, do I risk my body for a football team that's going to have a whole lot of change, or do I need to play well because I need to audition for a new general manager? So it can go one of 2 ways, either very well or it can go very poorly in a week like this.
And Jeff, I don't think my opinion is I don't think players care about the GM as much. Like if you change the coach, that's where you get a little bit of a juice for a game or 2.
But it gets their attention, though.
Do you think? I mean,
sure. I mean, from the standpoint of, look, guess what? The guy that really liked me, he just got his butt fired. And so now the guy's going to be watching my film. Whoever this is, the new guy is going to be watching my film from here out.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it can also have the opposite effect that, look, my hamstring, Tony, is hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
We've lost 10 in a row, and we're not going to the playoffs.
Sore back.
And my back, I'm feeling like Jalen Ramsey. I can't go, JP.
Guys start finding the injuries that's hard to diagnose. Like it's hard to argue.
Can't make it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's turn our attention away from the guy who lead the front office to the guy who lead the offense today. Mike Glennon, was he the right choice, in your opinion, to start at quarterback today?
Well, yes. I mean, number one is that he played well and he protected the football last week and he gave him a chance, and that's what you want. And he's been taking more snaps lately than opposed to a Gardner Minshew or Jake Luton, who obviously they decided to put back on the shelf because he's a young player. But now that Gardner Minshew has been taking snaps in practice, now next week we'll bring another interesting question. But I think for this week, I think Mike Glennon's the right choice. The issue that I have is that the reality is that none of these guys on this roster are your answer for the future right now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So does it really matter? Probably not.
You know who it matters to, Jeff, is Doug Marrone and these players, because while all of us, and we're all doing it, and all the fans are doing it, are looking at the college football and the draft and who can we get. Draft positioning. I mean, that is the main topic right now.
Absolutely.
But if you're the head coach, you're the players, you want to win football games. And you're working hard, and you're still practicing, and, what you put out there matters. And I think Mike Glennon gives this team the best chance of winning. If you look at all 3, I would say –
and you could make an argument for the rest of the year.
Based on what we've seen, it's a good point. But based on what I'd seen, I'd argue for the rest of the year. But this thing changes week to week. Who knows?
Glennon goes out and has a terrible game, and he throws 2 picks, and one of them's critical. Then all of a sudden next week you may go, you know what? Maybe Gardner Minshew gives us the best chance this week. I don't know.
All right, let's flip it to defense here, guys. Obviously, the Vikings are getting warm on the offensive side. Kirk Cousins has gone over 100 rating for 5 straight games. Dalvin Cook is second in the league in rushing yardage and attempts this year. Thielen's coming off the COVID list. Jefferson is a rookie out of LSU who's lighting it up. Well, they got Rudolph, who who has knocked the Jags down a little bit in the past here. So where do you start to slow down Minnesota on defense?
That's a great question, JP, and it's Dalvin Cook. I mean, you got to start there, because if you don't stop Dalvin Cook or limit Dalvin Cook, you got absolutely no chance. And this could be an incredibly tough game. If you're going to be missing some more components than maybe you were hoping for, because we know that Devon Hamilton has gone to IR. They've had to make some roster adjustments yesterday to try to make up for some losses. Is Sidney Jones going to play? Look, it's a tough deal, and the reality is I give the Jaguars defense credit over the last couple of weeks, because the reality is that they have been dealing with the lack of quality personnel on defense all year long, but especially recently. And Todd Walsh and the defensive staff, and Doug Marrone and Doug Mallory, by the way, last week, who coached up the defense, I think they've done a very good job of getting productive play out of what I think is subpar talent.
Well, and you talk about this Vikings offense, and you mentioned all the great weapons that they have, but the one place I don't think they're very good, or they're average at best, is their offensive line. And I think you can get physical with them. It's not a big unit. They are the Gary Kubiak's zone system. They want to run zone and all that stuff. And if you watch them, the ball comes out quickly because I think it needs to. The pocket collapses. And so if you can get push, you have a chance. And
who's going to get pushed?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to be positive. Doug Costin. I'm going with Costin.
Okay.
Costin's going to come and push him around. Bradbury, the center, is an undersized center, very athletic, good player, but his weakness is getting pushed back a little bit. So if I'm looking for any silver lining, Jeff, right now, and what do? You got to win up front, and that is the one weak spot of this Vikings offense.
It is a little bit weak of a spot, but the reality is Kirk Cousins.
Just go with me. Come on, go with me.
I'm trying. JP, when you brought up the point about how Kirk Cousins has been playing well of late, I mean, he started the season out in the first 6 games, and he was horrendous.
Yep.
1-5, he had like an 88 rating. His touchdowns and interceptions were almost equal. And in the last 5 games, he's thrown 12 touchdowns. He's only thrown 1 interception. He's been hot. Last week, he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, and now he's getting Adam Thielen back. This is a tough matchup for a Jaguars defense that is outmatched.
So, guys, I know there's a young team across the board, but is there a young player who maybe hasn't played as much as you'd like to see that you're looking forward to watching over the final 5 weeks?
Nothing jumps out at me. I mean, Colin Johnson, the receiver, getting more reps. He played last week because of the injury to DJ Chark.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe him, Mike, but everyone's hurt. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing everybody.
They're all playing right now.
Quarterman.
They're playing them all. The only one I'd say this that and I'm going to ask Tony about this because it's an offensive lineman, Ben Barch, who has been subbing in with Tyler Shatley. And Tony, I've been disappointed in what I've seen. It seems like that he can't pass protect, and he's not very athletic. And that's a guy that you'd like to see at this point of a rookie season to start to show some signs of improvement.
Yeah, well, he played tackle in college, and the thought is if you're athletic enough to play tackle, move into guard, and you can be athletic. Jeff, I think he really struggles in pass protection. He leans. His feet don't move. I think part of the reason is because he's straight-legged.
He's gotten run over multiple times.
Well, forget about just getting run over. Now he's missing guys and whiffing early. He's decent. I like his aggressiveness and physical style in the run game.
I do too.
But even last week, Jeff, watching him in the run game, he's straight-legged. He doesn't he has issues with movement and really finishing guys because he has some real issues.
If the defender doesn't stay down the middle on him, he really struggles.
He really struggles, and so now are you giving up on the guy? No, he's a mid-round pick from Division III school. He's a project, but it does worry you looking in. As I look to next year, Jeff, here's the thing: are you confident enough? You have big salaries. You have to figure out what you do with left tackle. I think the plan was, hey, we can get Ben Barch, and maybe we can go on from Norwell and
not right now
lose his big number. So, I don't think you can.
So, Mike, to answer your question, me and Tony are both sticking with Colin Johnson.
Yeah. Sorry, we're not more positive right now. I'm trying. I tried to give Jeff a softball on the offensive line of the Vikings, and he's just shaking his head at me.
Can't take it.
It's tough. It's tough to be positive. 10 straight losses. It is what it is right now.
Well, the one thing, though, I will say, the effort's there. Because you know what? This team has had multiple opportunities over the last 4 to 5 weeks to where you could see the effort and everything else just drop off. And you haven't seen it. So, I mean, I give credit to the players first because their effort has been there.
Agreed.
And when Doug Marrone was talking early on in the season about how he really likes these guys, and I think when he says that, obviously, he's saying he likes them, how their personalities are, how they work, how they're committed. I mean, look, he may not like the talent level because, I mean, look, this team doesn't have enough talent. But what he's saying and what we've been seeing has been true because you have to have some good character in the locker room to have a team that stays as hardworking and that doesn't quit at this stage of the season, and we haven't seen it yet. And hopefully we don't see it through the remainder of the season.
Yeah, you're seeing great effort still, so that is a positive. I agree with Jeff. Hats off to this group and the players, the coaches. As I talk to people in the building, one thing is consistent. You hear each week that they prepare. They're sponges. They're doing what they can. Jeff, we said it all year. Said at the beginning of the year, this is not a talented roster. And you add injuries to it, and it goes down downhill pretty quick.
All right, guys, we'll be back in a moment with the inactives for today's game, the Jags and the Vikings, and the Geico Fantasy Outlook is right around the corner as well. The Jags and the Vikings at 1 o'clock in Minneapolis, and from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Nothing kicks off your game better than a handful of Georgia peanuts. Power packed with protein, essential nutrients, and great taste. Georgia peanuts are the MVP for affordability, sustainability, and nutrition. To score life's touchdowns with recipes and fun facts, check out GAPeanuts.com. The perfectly powerful peanut is brought to you by the family farmers of the Georgia Peanut Commission.
Peanuts! Get your peanuts!
Hey Jacksonville, this is Joe Adib from Bono's. I just want to let you know that we have now reopened all of our dining rooms. We appreciate all the love that you have showed us during this crisis. For over 71 years, we have been here for you through good times and bad. Our award-winning barbecue and our unbelievable staff look forward to seeing you soon. Be safe.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat, even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Why live with foot or ankle pain? If you have persistent pain, numbness, tingling, burning pain on the bottom of your foot, or swelling that doesn't improve with home treatment, it may be time to see Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. Our foot and ankle specialists have innovative new options to help you get back in the swing of things without persistent pain that slows you down. Call JOI 2000 or go to joionline.net for an appointment.
Hey, Florida drivers and motorcycle riders, don't fumble. Do your part to stay safe on our roadways. Florida has observed a significant number of motorcycle fatalities and crashes. Drivers, watch for motorcycles. Don't drive distracted. Motorcycles are hard to see. Take the extra effort to look for them. Riders, play defense. Always ride responsibly. Wear proper gear. Make yourself more visible. Get trained and never drink and ride. On the road, safety is worth way more than 2 points. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Now more than ever, the Jaguars want to recognize our fans and everything you do to make football, well, football. As part of the NFL Fan of the Year contest, the Jaguars are searching for one extraordinary Jaguars fan whose positive influence inspires others in Northeast Florida through their love of the game. You could win a trip to Super Bowl 55, Visit NFL.com/Fan of the Year now to nominate yourself or others for a chance to win.
Welcome back. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. The Jags and the Vikings in Minneapolis today at 1 o'clock Eastern at U.S. Bank Stadium. Let's get to the inactives for the game today. They've just come down, and the Jaguars have 6 players inactive today. Jake Luton, the quarterback, will sit this one out. Gardner Minshew is healthy, and he is the backup for starter Mike Glennon today. Sidney Jones, the fourth, the cornerback, inactive for the Jags. Dakota Allen, linebacker, still out. Kamale Correa, linebacker, inactive. Tyler Davis, the tight end, a rookie out of Georgia Tech, is inactive. And Reggie Gilbert on the defensive line is inactive. Those are the 6 down for the Jags today. And as we said, Sidney Jones is out today, the what would have been the starting cornerback for the Jags in a tough matchup today.
Yeah, no doubt. The guys not participating for the Vikings today include Alexander Madison, who had an appendectomy just a couple of days ago, and they hope for a speedy return. He's their backup behind Dalvin Cook, so Mike Boone will take on a more prominent role off the bench. Rookie defensive end DJ Wanham has an ankle issue. He's out. Irv Smith Jr., the second-year tight end, is out with a back injury. Other guys not suiting up today include wide receiver Tajay Sharp, safety Curtis Riley, offensive tackle Ali Udo, and quarterback Dylan Mabin. Those are the inactives for the Minnesota Vikings.
Time now for the Geico Fantasy Outlook. Great news. There's a quick way you could save money. Switch to Geico. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. And we go back to the booth. Tony and Jeff back with us. We welcome in play-by-play man Frank Frangie. And, Mike, where do we stand?
Well, last week, kudos to Joe Fortunato, pinch hitting for Tony Baselli. He finished right in the middle of the pack, but wasn't the worst, certainly, that we had last week.
There have been worse.
And he got Tony out of the basement. Tony was in last place, and he is no longer in last place, as Frank Frangie had what may be a record-breaking
really
20-point week.
It's a really bad week. Joe, you available this week? That's my question. Just wondering.
Who did you pick?
I had the Raiders guys. Jacobs got hurt, and Carr was horrible, and
they combined for 6.
Six, by the way. My 2 Raiders guys had 6.
Unfortunately, you had Keenan Allen's 14.
That's what I got. 6.
So the scores last week: Frank had 20, JP had 36. He'll draft second today. Tony's team with Joe picking had 43. Jeff had 47, and I had 57. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, Nick Chubb, and Stephon Diggs combining for that tally. So I've extended my lead out just a little bit now at the top. At 676, Jeff is 25 points behind me. JP another 6 back there. Tony is at 604, so he's about 41 out of third place. And Frank 20 points behind Tony at the moment.
I got to stop the slide today.
Yes, 4 weeks left because we will not pick in week 17. We'll review in week 17. So we've got
and I will celebrate
to make a move
in week 17.
Your championship.
The only person not to win is
far,
JP.
You're right, Tony. We draft a quarterback, running back, and wide receiver or tight end, either one you want. And the draft order again is Frank, JP, Tony, Jeff, and myself. So Frank, you are up first.
Let me have DK Metcalf, I think.
Okay, Metcalf, I hear is a pretty good player. So he is yours. JP.
All right, give me. You know what? I got to do it. Kirk Cousins.
I knew he was going to do it.
I hate it.
It was
going to
do it.
I got to do it. I got to get back on track.
All semblance of rooting interest is off the table
over.
As fantasy comes down to the final month. Tony, you're up.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. It's always a good selection, and we'll see if he turns out to be this week. Jeff?
I will take Deshaun Watson.
Oh, man, I was really thinking somebody was going to snake me.
I almost did that one, actually.
I'm going with Austin Eckler at running back. And then let's see. I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill, quarterback today. And we'll pass it back to Jeff, who's got Deshaun Watson.
I will take Devontae Adams.
Okay. On to you, Tony, with a quarterback or a pass catcher.
I'm going to go A.J. Brown.
Oh, no.
A.J. Brown coming off the board. Tony and I are buddies now.
Yeah.
We got the Titans hook up. JP, All your guys are gone.
Yeah.
That's what you get for taking Kirk Cousins.
Brandon Cooks. He's the only guy left in Houston.
He's that. All right, so Cooks, Frank, you get to finish it up with a QB and a running back here.
I think I'm going to take Taysom Hill.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to take a chance on Myles Gaskin coming back today.
Yeah, come on, Frank.
He's a very good play against Cincinnati today, I think, anyway. JP is you have a running back left on your list?
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb. Oh, he's so
ridiculous.
Disappointed to have Nick Chubb. Tony, your quarterback, please.
Golly, I don't know. I'm not prepared, to be honest with you. Let me see if I take him. I'm going to go with I'll go with Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
I don't love that pick against New Orleans, but
we all do, though, for you. Jeff, get a running back here.
I will take David Montgomery.
That's an excellent play this week as well. I think he's got a great schedule down the stretch. I have a feeling we're going to take him a lot. And I'm going to chase last week's points. I will go with Tyreek Hill. I'm the last one who hasn't used him. So here's what we've got. We've got Taysom Hill for Frank, along with Myles Gaskin and DK Metcalf. JP goes Kirk Cousins, Nick Chubb, and Brandon Cooks, the All-C's team. Tony goes Matt Ryan, Derrick Henry, and A.J. Brown. Jeff will have Deshaun Watson, David Montgomery, and Devontae Adams. And I go Ryan Tannehill, Austin Eckler, and Tyreek Hill. And the race is on. Good luck, guys.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
All right, there they are. Tony and Jeff are out of here. They'll be back with us in Countdown to Kickoff inside an hour from now for some final thoughts before the Jags and the Vikings. Time now for the Frank Frangie File. We visit longer with the play-by-play announcer for the Jaguars, Frank Frangie, and 10 straight losses now, Frank, and no GM. He's been fired, and change is on the horizon, and at least – now it has started. You know there will be some transition of some sort this offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week, another interesting week. I got a bunch of thoughts about this game. The Vikings are suddenly good offensively, not so good defensively, so maybe the Jags can move it a little bit. I'm not so sure, and I heard you guys talking about it earlier, JP. I'm not so sure I sense that the new GM or the GM getting fired is going to have a big effect on the game today. As the weeks go on, perhaps, I don't think that's a big effect here. But you're right. People are starting to think about who's the new GM. Will there be a new coach? Who's the high draft pick quarterback? We assume. So a lot's going on. But as for today's football game, I don't see a lot of effect. I think it's an intriguing game. I think Mike Glennon, having played a game now, first time he started in a while, I'm very interested to see how he plays in game 2 for him is the way I look at that.
Yeah, I totally agree, Frank. I don't think these guys in the locker room pay that much attention to what's going on in the front office because they're not dealing with that on a daily basis. It's different when you change a coach. I think we all spoke with a lot of former players this week that probably reflected that thinking. So let's focus on the field today. As you mentioned, Mike Glennon, he gets DJ Chark back. I'm curious, Frank, to see who he has the connection with. He and Colin Johnson had worked a little bit on scout team together, and that came to the fore last week. But it's got to be a benefit for Glennon to have the full receiver core at his disposal.
No question. And, last week's an interesting week, Mike, because I think they wanted to use Trey Quinn some. He's a guy that people didn't know a whole lot about, but he's a guy Gruden loved when he had him in Washington. He caught 35 balls. He's a true slot receiver. They haven't really had what they believe is a true slot receiver. And I think the plan was to play him in the slot, have him run back punts, have him run back kickoffs, and see what they had, and then he gets hurt right out of the gate. And I think that caused Colin Johnson to get more reps. I think it's one of the reasons he played well last week because he had some opportunities. But I agree with you. It'd be nice to see. I think the fact that Chark is back matters. I really like Conley coming back because it's veteran with veteran. I sense when Foles was here, there was a connection with Conley, Mike, because they're two guys who'd been in the league for a while. I think the same thing with Glennon and Conley, so I think that rears its head, and it's always great to have DJ Chark back. He's one of the best players on the team.
You got to keep feeding James Robinson, though. Yeah. You can't stop that.
Oh, no, yeah, that's who you are. And,
right.
And certainly with Mike Glennon playing, it's absolutely going to be who you are. I don't think there's any question. The other part of that, though, JP, is everybody else knows that's who you are too, right? So I would think as they have been, they're going to continue to face more and more stacked boxes. They're playing a lot of teams now with postseason aspirations, and the postseason is still in view for them. So I think that the way you beat the Jaguars and get closer to your postseason aspirations is you take away James Robinson. So, yeah, you keep feeding him, but I think the box is going to be packed a little bit, so you got to hit some plays down the field.
And the hits just keep on coming for the Jaguars, Frank, as you've got to deal with Dalvin Cook this week.
Yeah.
You have to do it without Devon Hamilton, who really over the last 6 weeks or so has been playing really good football.
Boy, Mike, Dalvin Cook turned out to be a really good pro. We saw him enough at FSU. I thought he'd be a good pro. I really did. We all said that. Man, he's a great pro. He catches the ball. He's explosive. Yeah, the last thing you need, and you're right, with Devon Hamilton down, he's the one big two-gap guy they had in there. The last thing you need is you look up and it's 21 carries for 150 yards and 8 catches, the kind of games that Dalvin Cook's been having. I agree with you. You got to try and stop him. But, look, I think Kirk Cousins, Mike, is playing as well as he has played as a pro, other than the big year in Washington that got him the big contract. He was the NFL Player of the Week last week, Offensive Player of the Week, and he's playing at a great level. So they got their hands full in a lot of ways with what suddenly is a very good Vikings offense and one that gets Adam Thielen back. So the Vikings are going to be pretty good on offense today.
Yeah, that was the next question about the Jaguars secondary and the matchup today with Thielen back and Jefferson playing so well as a rookie and then Cousins slinging it around to him. That is an unfortunate matchup, I think, for the Jaguars today.
And it's going to be tough, JP. Let's be honest. Luke Barku is going to start at the one corner spot. I think you're going to see Greg Mabin in that same spot. So I think you're going to see kind of both guys, and the Jags are going to kind of see what they have at that side. But, yeah, in fairness to these guys, it is it's a beat-up team, which means it's a really young team. That's the challenge today, is against Kirk Cousins, who's playing so well. Justin Jefferson's one of the best rookies in the league. Gosh, he's had a great season. Thielen is back, and the Jags are playing all those young guys in the secondary. That's your concern, that Vikings offense. Can you slow them a little bit? And I think that's what the Jags are going to have to do.
Okay, Frank, have a great call today. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, boys, thanks.
Frank Frangie will be back in the final hour before kickoff as well. This season, the Jaguars have launched predictive gaming exclusively in the Jaguars mobile app. You can choose a bingo card, pick your favorite 3 players, and place wagers to win prizes. Check the games out in the mobile app now. We're back in a moment on the Publix Tailgate Show, a visit with the Ozone. Jaguars.com senior writer John Oehser joins us. Jaguars Radio Network coverage begins at noon with Countdown to Kickoff. We're a little over an hour away from Week 13, the Jags and the Vikings coming up. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
If you've ever been in a vehicle crash, then you know the impact caused by a collision. Now imagine the force of a crash so great, people are killed. My name is Eric. I sat behind the wheel and drove drunk. I caused a crash that killed 2 young women, Megan and Lisa. Now, I sit alone in my jail cell. Megan and Lisa were taken forever, and their families and friends were left devastated. Don't drink and drive, and remember our roadways are connected to our families.
This message brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Some things make a house your home. Like clean, fresh sheets that make a bed with the soothing scent of fabric softener your thing. When drying clothes with natural gas, you get faster, gentler drying times, save money, and earn a rebate up to $150. Your home. Our safe, reliable, efficient energy. Love natural gas. Find rebate details at peoplesgas.com.
The wait for the holidays is over, America. It's time to make some joy. And we're here to help with the Ford Built for the Holidays sales event. We're offering the best deals of the season across the Ford lineup, so you can road trip with the whole family comfortably in a Ford Expedition. Bring home a tree that's bigger than you ever have with a built Ford Tough F-150. And find new ways to make the holidays bright this year when you visit your local Ford dealer. The joy is up to you, America, so let's get to it. Ford, built for the holidays.
Hey, Florida drivers and motorcycle riders, don't fumble. Do your part to stay safe on our roadways. Florida has observed a significant number of motorcycle fatalities and crashes. Drivers, watch for motorcycles. Don't drive distracted. Motorcycles are hard to see. Take the extra effort to look for them. Riders, play defense. Always ride responsibly. Wear proper gear and make yourself more visible. Get trained and never drink and ride. On the road, safety is worth way more than 2 points. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
At
Tropical Smoothie Cafe. One taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now. Bucket dunking now, namasteing now. Popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Jaguars fans, game day is back, and while it might look a little different this year, the good times, smooth drinks, and tailgate excitement will never change when you're cheering on the Jags with Jameson. So pull up a seat, pour a smooth Jameson, ginger, and lime, and enjoy game day with Jameson. Taste responsibly. Jameson Irish Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof. Product of Ireland. Copyright 2020. Imported by John Jameson Import Company, New York, New York.
Final moments of the Publix Tailgate show, but the most important moments are ahead. The Jags and the Vikings at 1 o'clock at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Saving you money on car insurance has been in Geico's playbook for over 75 years, so what are you waiting for? After the game, get a quote at geico.com. Time now for a visit with the Ozone.
This broadcast is ozone friendly. The Ozone.
It's time for Jaguars.com senior writer John Ogier to join us on the program.
These are from the Christmas store.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas to all.
From Santa's workshop.
But is it?
It's the first week in December. We're already waist deep in Christmas stuff at John's house.
I was excited to find out who was coming up next when you said it was the most important segment on the
See,
the pregame.
am I wrong?
And here we are.
I knew it.
Live from Santa's workshop. If you're watching on online right now.
At Jaguars.
Yes.
All right, so how about a little Christmas magic for the Jaguars today, John? They're going to need it on the defensive side, it feels like.
Yeah, I've been, all week I've been trying to figure out how the Jaguars can win this game. And I know the Vikings don't feel like a juggernaut. They've gotten hot lately against the softer part of their schedule. That being said, it still feels like this team is a team that's going to need breaks today to win it. They're so depleted on defense against an offense that, as you guys know, may have as many functioning weapons at a high level right now as any team in the league, especially with Thielen back. So it feels to me like a game where if the Jaguars can get a couple of breaks in the first quarter, get up, break serve, if you will, be up by a touchdown, and, when they go to the highlights on TV and they're going, whoa, look at the upset in Minneapolis. If it's that kind of day, then maybe. Otherwise, I think this is a tall, tall task.
Yeah, I agree, John. They're going to have to match points with Minnesota. And, look, you want to feed your best player. That's been James Robinson on offense this year. But I feel like they need to open up the passing game today because I do think Minnesota's going to put points on the board.
Yeah.
Well, and in this league, it's hard to be one-dimensional no matter how good that dimension is. And James Robinson's really, really good. But if you don't throw, we said this about Gardner Minshew some early in the season. If Glennon doesn't throw guys out of the box, meaning complete passes downfield and get Minnesota back, they know James Robinson is good. They're going to stack the box. So I think DJ Chark coming back today, the fascinating thing to me is how will he work with Glennon? Glennon has showed last week he'll throw the ball downfield. The pass to Colin Johnson that resulted in a touchdown, that's DJ Chark's kind of play. Can he connect some to those with DJ Chark? If he can, then maybe they surprise the Vikings today.
John Ogier with us, Jaguars.com senior writer. Was Glennon the right call to start this week and beyond? Now Doug said it's week to week, day to day. Obviously, he's not going to commit to the rest of the season, but considering the rest of the room, was it the right call?
Yeah, I don't want to be snide, but you're 1-10. I mean, is there a right call? The starter's 1-6, meaning Minshew. Everybody else is 0-something. You're looking for something to happen. I thought based on last week, Glennon played as well in terms of seeing the field, making throws, playing from the pocket, looking like an NFL quarterback. Within that 60 minutes, I think he played as well as any quarterback has excuse me, for the Jaguars this year. So why not Glennon? I don't think we're making long-term decisions here. I think it's a 5-week decision. The big picture decisions are in the offseason.
John, what would worry you more from a defensive perspective today? Dalvin Cook, who's been outstanding, or the return of Adam Thielen coupled with Justin Jefferson in the passing game?
Yes.
Yes, that's kind of what I thought you might say.
No, I mean, I would say Cook because occasionally a running offense is so good that it maybe trumps a little bit what the passing game does. It's close in Minnesota, but Cook is so good that if you don't stop him, you are going to lose. There's not that many backs like that in the NFL. So I'll say Cook, but as soon as I say that, we're probably sitting here at 4:30 talking about what a great game Thielen had because they're really loaded.
And then Cousins is triggering all that too. That's part of it. He's turned things around the last month or so, John.
Yeah, I think his number's 12-1 in November, meaning 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. Doesn't get much better than that. He kind of came out of nowhere a little bit, meaning everybody knows Kirk Cousins, but first half of the season, he was really rocky, and it was a big reason why they were 1-5. So, that's sort of the key. And, JP, we've talked about it all week. If you can get Cook stopped somehow early, get in Cousins' face, he will make mistakes. All quarterbacks will, but he's shown that. So maybe that's how they get to what we talked about at the top. Maybe that's how they get a little bit of a lead and make Minnesota feel uncomfortable. At 1-10, it's not a good shot, but that's probably their shot.
John, sometimes you get a bump when there's a coaching change, and we know there won't be one now. As Shad Khan said, he's going to stick with his staff to the end of the season. Is there any appreciable, tangible impact from Dave Caldwell being let go last week?
Yeah, I don't know that many players are in tune to that. I think they know from a business standpoint, they probably talked to their agents this week, and their agents said, yeah, the GM matters. He's what does the, sort of re-explains the terrain to him. But I think Frank said it earlier, I don't know that on a day-to-day basis, Dave's not on the Zoom call. He's not one motivating. So on game day, not so much. I forget who it was this week was talking about Dave Caldwell. It was a new player and said he'd really only met him twice. Right. So I think that's sort of the impact, not an emotional impact. That impact will happen after the season.
All right, John, have a great day in Christmas land over there, and we'll talk to you a little bit later.
Is that an elf on the shelf sitting back there?
I think it is indeed.
It is, all right.
Of course. John Oehser, senior writer, Jaguars.com. Give him a follow during the game as well.
Why aren't we all decorated on our shelves in here, JP?
I don't know.
Have you not trimmed the pregame show tree yet?
I've not. We need to go chop it down first and bring it in here. That's step one. One step at a time. So there you go. We'll hear from John, throughout the day on Twitter, and then after the game, check out his writing on the team website. And it is a tough matchup today. Let's be honest. It really is, especially on the defensive side for the Jags.
They've lost 10 in a row. They're all tough matchups
True.
for the Jaguars.
True.
But no, you're right. They're a team on the ascent. Minnesota is. Look, I really don't know which team's not going to give them problems going forward. They have so many injuries, so many holes that they're dealing with right now. They're not full strength anywhere, really. So, you hope for the best. You go out there and look. Two of their last 3 games have been very close. Super competitive. So today may be another one of those. If Mike Glennon, it's really I think going to come down to quarterback play. How well does he play on the road?
That'll do it for the Publix Tailgate Show. We're back in a moment. The network coverage begins with Countdown to Kickoff. We'll have Pete Prisco, pride of the Jaguars running back Fred Taylor, and the final word with head coach Doug Marrone before kickoff. We're an hour away from Week 13. The Jags and the Vikings coming up, and this has been the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.